Live NFL trivia every Tuesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge and have a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. There are some people who end their career on the highest note possible. They win the Super Bowl and ride off into the sunset as a champion. They score in the final game they ever played. These are the guys that end their careers on a high note, and either save the best for last, or can feel really good about the way their careers came to a close. And then there's Leon Perry. You see, Leon Perry cannot say that about himself. Perry had just about the worst possible end to an NFL career imaginable. Imagine being in an unbelievable position to win the game, then doing something incredibly stupid that results in the other team scoring and getting right back in it, and then the other team wins the game and you're the scapegoat and the primary reason why it happened, and then you never touch the ball again. Your final carry ever, your final touch ever, was an absolutely awful blunder that you never even get the chance to redeem yourself for. You saved the worst for last. This is the story of Leon Perry, who had the worst final run in NFL history. Before we talk about the game and the big play, we need some context going in. In 1980, the New York Giants signed Leon Perry as an undrafted free agent out of Ole Miss. While Perry didn't play a whole lot at the start of the year, he eventually got his moment to shine on November 9, 1980, when in a stunning 38-35 victory over the Dallas Cowboys, Perry ran for 52 yards and scored the first touchdown of his career. Perry made it a 28-14 game, and the Giants would go on and win it 38-35, despite being 10-point underdogs, despite entering this game with a 1-8 record, and despite the Cowboys being 7-2 and looking like the best team in football. From that point on, Perry got a decent amount of playing time as the team's fullback. He touched the ball a considerable amount over the second half of the season, including a 53-yard game against Washington and a 98-yard game in the final week of the season against the eventual Super Bowl champion Oakland Raiders, where he scored a touchdown and averaged over 6 yards per carry. For an undrafted rookie, Perry seemed like he was making a name for himself, as he was not just a solid runner for a fullback, but he was a powerful blocker. As offensive backfield coach Bob Lord said, no one else in the backfield blocks like Leon Perry. Then the 1981 season happened, and a player that the Giants were coveting for a while became available. After the 1980 season, the Houston Oilers fired Bum Phillips and replaced him with Ed Biles. Giants head coach Ray Perkins saw this as an opportunity to look at getting players away from Houston. Perkins called up Biles in the spring and asked about Rob Carpenter. Biles responded by saying that he didn't know yet, and that he wanted to look over his team first before doing anything. Considering the fact that Biles was on the Oilers staff before this and knew what Carpenter could bring to the table, this seemed odd, but I guess he wanted to see if Carpenter fit his scheme. After 4 weeks, it was apparent that he did not. Biles wanted to diversify the offense and switch up the formations, but it wasn't working. Earl Campbell wasn't having as much success at the start of the year as he did in 1980, working primarily out of the I formation. The Oilers had scored just 36 points over their last 3 games, and were coming off of a 3-possession loss to the New York Jets. Rob Carpenter had just 22 yards and 5 carries over the last 2 games. He was clearly not fitting the system. With that, Perkins called again, and this time, the Giants and Oilers were able to work something out, with the Giants acquiring Rob Carpenter. That significantly reduced Leon Perry's playing time, and it was about to get a whole lot worse. Rob Carpenter played a big part in the Giants surprising a lot of people by making the postseason that year. In 10 games, he crossed the 100-yard mark 4 times, and finished with 949 yards from scrimmage. Anytime you acquire a player mid-season and he's averaging somewhere in the ballpark of 100 yards from scrimmage per game, you're doing something right. That's a heck of an acquisition. While Rob Carpenter played a big part, Leon Perry did not. Over the final 9 games of the season, he touched the ball just 29 times on the ground. He didn't score a touchdown after opening day, when Carpenter wasn't on the roster. Perry had been phased out of the offense, at least from a ball-carrying perspective. With Rob Carpenter getting the bulk of the work, there was no room for Perry to get reps. In 1982, Carpenter wasn't signed, so while he missed training camp, Perry had an opportunity to get his spot back, or at least get an increased role in the offense. Instead, he sprained his right ankle and missed some time. This left the door open for others to become more involved, including Butch Woolfolk, the team's first-round pick from 1982. But once Perry came back, Rob Carpenter was still not there. He was holding out at his home in Houston, and while the Giants wanted to increase their offer to get Carpenter back, they couldn't do that until a new labor agreement was signed. Remember that the strike was looming in the distance. This meant that Perry would at the very least get an opportunity to reestablish himself. And that takes us to opening day of the 1982 season. September 12th at Giants Stadium, where the Atlanta Falcons and the New York Giants are facing off. Through 3 quarters, the Giants are leading this one 14-7. After a fumble recovery by Beasley Reese, the Giants are in an incredible position. A few plays later, they're in the red zone. Obviously, the game isn't over by any means, but if you make it a 2-score game midway through the 4th, especially since the Falcons had only scored 7 points all game, you should have this. The Falcons are no strangers to comebacks, as the year before, they scored 31 in the 4th quarter against the Packers to pull off a miraculous come-from-behind victory. You can learn more about that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. But with where the clock is, how well the Giants have looked defensively, how poor the Falcons have looked offensively, and the great field position, barring anything stupid, you've got this. It's 2nd and 1. What happens next? Well, just roll the tape.
2nd down, 1. Jump over the pile.
Another whistle hasn't blown.
I don't think so. It's no whistle. Blaisbrook picked up the fumble and is going all the way for what will be a touchdown. Unless something happened here. Let's see.
Well, the referee back there didn't blow the whistle. He didn't stop that play. That's a touchdown.
It is a touchdown for Atlanta.
I'm sure you have many questions. Mainly, why the heck is Perry trying to jump over everyone on 2nd down? Did he have any awareness of the situation whatsoever? Anything? Perry said afterwards that when you have a pile like that, it all depends on where the referee spots the ball. So he tried reaching as far as he could. It makes sense by the goal line, even if it is risky. But on the 9-yard line with a 7-point lead in the 4th quarter on 2nd down? This is up there with one of the most boneheaded things a player can do. And it came back to cost the Giants big time, as the Falcons won it 16-14, coming all the way back because of the play. What should have been a 2-possession game turned out to be a shocking Falcons victory. And if that wasn't bad enough for Leon Perry, knowing that he was the primary reason the Giants lost, he would never touch a football again in the NFL. That was his final carry ever. Once Rob Carpenter was activated after the strike concluded, Perry was cut. He said that he never lost confidence in himself, and that he hoped his chance would come around, but it never did. While he played in the USFL for a bit, his final NFL carry ever was this, an absolutely boneheaded decision that cost his team the game and ultimately a spot in the postseason. As if the Giants held on and won, they would have finished the season 5-4 and would have made the expanded field. In terms of ways to go out, this is about as bad as it gets. Some guys go out on a bang, some guys go out on a whimper, and some guys, like Leon Perry, go out in catastrophic fashion, because it is tough to have a final carry that's worse than this. Be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JaredGator9 and subscribe to 60-Second NFL History on YouTube. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters who help with the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See what you can do with my Patreon and request future video topics in the description below.